Hello, welcome to another week of Pick 3 DST, where I give you 3 defenses I like and 1 defense I think you should stay away from. For week 17, it's the Fantasy Football Championships. We got to make sure all our decisions are on point so we can take home that title. As a reminder, these are not my full weekly rankings. If you would like to see those, you can click the link below. That'll take you to the article explaining my full weekly rankings, as well as a link to the Google Sheet where I will update those rankings during the week, just in case we keep getting any of this COVID weirdness. So let's dive right in to my stud defense of the week. It's the New England Patriots. They're my number 2 ranked defense for the week and number 2 ranked defense on the season. The Patriots are second in percentage of drives that end in an offensive score. They're third in the NFL in turnover rate. They're fifth in pressure rate. Before the Bills game, they had held 5 of 6 opponents to under 300 total yards and had forced 10 turnovers in the 4 games prior to the Bills game. This is the Patriots team that's out for blood going up against the Jacksonville team that just lost James Robinson for the season, so I don't really expect this to be a close game, and I think you can fire up New England with a lot of confidence. Pause this video, please comment below, let me know who your number 1 defense is for the week or what defense you're rolling with for the Fantasy Championship, or feel free to ask us any questions in the comments if you need some help to decide which defense to take you to the title. And now we're going to move on to my solid defense for the week. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them ranked 7th for the week, but they're 20th for me on the season. The Eagles beat the Giants last week, allowing only 192 total yards while sacking Jake Fromm twice, forcing 2 interceptions and returning 1 of those for a touchdown. However, the Eagles are only the 16th ranked defense over the last month, and that includes the Giants game. On the season, they're 24th in the NFL in turnover rate, 31st in the NFL in sacks, and 17th in pressure rate. So they've been a very average fantasy unit. It's important to note that Washington has looked terrible in their 2 games against the Cowboys, but have looked pretty good in the games against non-Cowboy opponents released recently. They turned the ball over 6 times in their 2 games against the Cowboys, but they turned the ball over only 4 times in the 5 total games against non-Cowboys opponents. They've also allowed 10 sacks in the 2 games against the Cowboys, but only 6 sacks combined in the 5 games against non-Cowboys related teams. The Eagles just played this Washington team a couple weeks ago and only scored 4 fantasy points. So I think that they're a solid floor play for you this week, but I really wouldn't expect a repeat of last week's game against the Giants. And now we're going to move to my sleeper defense, which is the Los Angeles Rams. They're 4th for me on the week and 12th for me on the season, but I see a lot of people who have them outside of the top 10. On the season, the Rams are 8th in yards allowed per play, 12th in turnover rate, and 6th in sacks. They've forced at least 1 turnover in 5 straight games and have 7 turnovers in total over the last 5 games, while holding 2 teams under 215 yards of total offense. Aaron Donald and company have notched 12 sacks over their last 4 games and now face a Baltimore team that gives up the most sacks in the NFL. The truth is, I don't really care if Lamar Jackson is back. In the 2 games without him, Baltimore has only turned the ball over once and taken 2 combined sacks. Meanwhile, in the last 3 games that Lamar Jackson played, the Ravens turned the ball over 7 times, and he gave up 13 sacks in those 3 games and 26 sacks in the 6 games before getting hurt. It's just his style of play is actually beneficial to opposing fantasy defenses, and it's time that maybe we need to understand that this year without a really strong running game to support him. Before we move on to my stay away defense, I'd like you to take a minute, just click the like button below. It really helps us out to make sure we get our content out to as many people as possible. And now my stay away defense for the week, it's the Chicago Bears. I have them ranked 13th this week, so they're not an unplayable defense for me, but I see a lot of people have them inside the top 10, so we need to talk about why I think you should temper your expectations with them. The Bears are the 28th ranked defense over the last month, averaging only 4 points per game. They're 30th in the NFL in turnover rate on the season, and are 6th in sacks, despite being 26th in pressure rate on the season. The Giants' offense is bad with Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm under center. I think we all know that. But the Giants have only given up 11 total sacks in their last 6 games. So the offensive line has been playing pretty well, and that's going to stifle the Chicago Bears pass rush, which is really the only thing that gets them fantasy points. As a result, I don't really think that they're a high ceiling play, and I think you could play them in deep leagues, but I'm not expecting some massive performance. Remember, one of the keys for fantasy football defenses is making sure that we don't elevate a mediocre or bad defense too high just because of the matchup. We did that last week with the Chargers and the Seahawks, and it burned us. So I don't think you should put the Bears in your top 10 expecting a double-digit point total. I just don't see that in their future. As a reminder, please like and subscribe to this content. It really helps us to get our content out to as many people as possible. Hit us up in the comments with any questions you have, and good luck in the Fantasy Football Championship.